Good day. My name is Steve Young, and I'm a Cloud Solution Architect with Microsoft Canada. This is a video recording of a tutorial walkthrough that I provided for a virtual workshop. As sessions have gone from in-person to virtual, I recorded this tutorial as we were not able to provide hands-on labs. The tutorial is itself available at the link shown below. So we used this video as a walkthrough of the tutorial that people could then do on their own. I divided the tutorial up into 9 parts, so each was roughly 5 to 9 minutes, and we'd stop for questions in between each portion. I did not include Demo 2, a walk through the interface, nor Demo 7, orchestrate activities with pipelines, in this recording, as we covered those topics in more detailed discussions. So let's get started. Now that we have the basics of the environment set up, in this demonstration we're going to create the SQL and Spark pools. If you're completing these tutorials or a demo, remember that you can pause your SQL pools when not in use, as you can scale these quite large and they do cost. Also, since we're creating all of our objects in the same resource group, if you decide to delete the resource group after you've completed any tutorials or demonstrations, all those resources can be deleted. So let's start from our portal screen. There are 2 ways to get to the workspace. If you're an administrator or have access to the resource group to create or modify objects, you can go through selecting the workspace from your resource group. So if we go into the resource group, we'll see the workspace. And if we click on this, we'll see the object in Azure. So all the settings for the workspace, the administration, security, etc. for the workspace. And there's also a link to the workspace here in the middle. Now, if I'm not an administrator, I'm a developer, I can go to the workspace, and your developers can go to the workspace directly by going to web.azuresynapse.net/workspaces. Now, this has already logged me in. So I can choose what Active Directory, if I have multiple Active Directories, what subscription, and then the workspace name. And again, what we have is WS Tutorial Demo. Continue. And this brings me into the workspace. So as you can see on the workspace, it provides you a way to get into the different areas, different tutorials, their useful links. So we're going to expand the different areas, and we're going to go to Manage. So as you can see on the screen, there's a SQL OnDemand pool which is already created. Now you can't delete this, and we have a demo on it a little later on. You'll find that every workspace comes with a pre-built SQL OnDemand pool. The SQL OnDemand pool allows you to work with SQL without having to create or think about managing a SQL pool in Azure. Unlike other kind of pools, billing for SQL OnDemand is based on the amount of data scanned to run the query, not on the number of resources used to execute the query. SQL OnDemand has its own SQL OnDemand database that exists independently from any SQL OnDemand pool. A workspace always has exactly one SQL OnDemand pool, obviously named SQL OnDemand. Select New. So now let's enter a name for our SQL pool. And you'll notice the performance level here, DW100C. Now this is an abstract combination of compute resources. So it's a combination of CPU, memory, and I/O. So I can increase this, again, up to 50, as much as I want. The performance level, again, my subscription won't allow one that large. So we're going to keep it as DW100C, a low-end level. And again, remember, you're billed as long as this is running. So again, you can, once we get to that, you can pause the instance and avoid those charges. So let's click on Additional Settings. And you'll notice here under Additional Settings that we could restore a database either through backup or restore point on another server. We're not going to do that here. You can change the collation, but we're just going to go to the next step, Tags. And in tags, if you're currently using tags which are used to divide your billing, to use automation within PowerShell. You can enter those here. So let's click on Review and Create. And again, I always like to review what I've entered, because again, once it's created and you go down the road of starting to develop, it's very hard to go back and change anything in the future. So once we're happy with everything, let's click Create. And you'll see that it's submitting for deployment. You'll see the process of the deployment, and which could take 5 to 8 minutes, as it said there. And once this is completed, you'll see it here in the list of SQL pools. So you'll notice a few options here as you highlight over. And let's just click on the 3 dots. So what you can do is you can open the SQL DB1, pause, scale, assign tags, and you can also delete. So what we're just going to do here is we're going to pause. There are no queries, so just click pause, and it'll say pausing pool in progress. And in essence, that'll stop us from getting any charges while we're not using it during this demo period. And after a couple of minutes, it shows that we've paused. So now that we have a SQL pool, let's create a Spark pool. Now, this can be deceiving. Despite the name, an Apache Spark pool is not like a SQL pool. It has the same basic metadata that you use to tell Azure Synapse Workspace how to interact with Spark. Because they're metadata, Spark pools can't be started or stopped. When you perform Spark activity in Azure Synapse, you specify a Spark pool to use. The pool tells Azure Synapse how many Spark resources to use, and you only pay for the resources that you use. When an activity stops using the pool, the resources are automatically timed out and recycled. Spark databases are independently created from Spark pools. A workspace always has a Spark database called default. You can create additional Spark databases through code and as you need them. So first, let's create our Apache Spark pool. So we go to Manage, Apache Spark Pools, and then obviously we create next. So thanks to the art of consistency, you'll notice that the blades here are the same as we've used to create other Azure objects. So we're going to create a name for our Spark pool, and that will be Spark1. Now, auto-scaling we can have enabled or disabled. Again, this being a tutorial, I'm going to say disabled. Our node size, and again, being a demo, we could have large, medium, or small. I'm going to use small. And the number of nodes I'm just going to have is 3. So let's go to additional settings. So on the additional settings screen, we can set the auto pause to enable or disable. I always tend to lean towards the enable, and then the number of idle minutes 15. So if it's not doing anything for 15 minutes, it will pause. So what'll happen is if I try to run a script where it is paused, it will take a little bit of time to run up. And again, that could be anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes, depending upon how many nodes you have. And then you can select versions of each item you would like to have within the Spark pool. And again, your data scientist will tell you which ones or which versions, if there's something more than the default that they would like. And again, you can also upload a package of these environment settings. So let's go to the tag screen. And again, you can add tags if you want, or if your organization uses those. And then we'll come to review and create. And again, I always like to review this in detail, because once you've created this and you've created objects and projects against it, it's a little difficult to rechange the name, or you can always make the node size larger or smaller. So there are some things you can change. So now let's just click on create, and it'll submit our deployment request. We'll take a minute or two, and we'll pop back when that's finished. And after about 30 seconds, it's finished. And if I take a look at the Spark line here, the line for the pool, you'll notice that it's the same options as in the SQL pool. I can change the auto pause settings. I can auto scale. I can also assign tags. So again, if I go to auto pause settings, I can change this from enable to disable. And pause this if you're finished. So we'll go on to the next step.